Hi everybody, my name is Dr. David Biggs and I'm an occupational psychologist, and today we're going to be looking at work in the gig economy. So just before we start with this, it's important to define what exactly the gig economy is and also the process of being an occupational psychologist. So I'll briefly go through that in terms of the current process in 2020 in how to be an occupational psychologist. I'll then look at the role of a supervisor in terms of the qualification aspect of becoming chartered, and then some example gig workers and the implications of this type of employment for students, especially those looking to get ahead and become an occupational psychologist. So in terms of defining the gig economy, it is quite poorly defined, and that's often why academics don't really look at it very much in terms of an employment proposition. So, but in essence, the gig economy and gig workers are people that work in terms of gigs, and gigs comes from that musician analogy where you play a particular venue and then you play another venue and that's another gig. So that is in essence where it comes from. So here is the process of becoming an occupational psychologist. So as you can see, there are three clear steps. So the first step is to get a relevant first degree. So that could be a BSc in psychology, or it could be a conversion course. The main purpose of that is to get the graduate basis of chartered status, or GBC. Once you've got GBC, you will be allowed onto a master's degree in psychology, and that will then give you stage 1 of the chartered status. The MSc is typically a year full-time and covers all the knowledge bases that you need to then go on and practice in that area. So once you've got your master's degree, the most important thing to do then is to get a role where you can work in the 5+2 core areas of occupational psychology, and then basically you can then register with the British Psychological Society on their qualification in occupational psychology, and then become chartered at the end of either 2, 3, or 4 years. So in terms of the cost of all this, obviously that's relevant to discuss. So a normal degree can cost quite a lot of money. Anything from 30 to 40,000 pounds. The MSc is usually a lot cheaper. Usually they're about 10 to 12k is about right for a master's degree in occupational psychology. And then for the doctorate degree, it actually is reasonably cheap in that it's about 7 grand for the British Psychological Society. But on top of that, you have to remember that you do have to pay supervisors' fees. So the BPS recommend to supervisors that they charge approximately about £1,500 a year. So if you do it over 2 years, that would obviously be the 7,000 to the BPS, and then the 1.5 plus 1.5 for the 2 years, so 3,000 to the supervisor. So actually, the MSc in occupational psychology over 1 year costs about 10 to 12 grand, and the qualification in occupational psychology can be about the same amount. So in terms of the final process, so the stage 2 aspect of this, I'm highlighting this now is the reason why is because many occupational psychologists have a day job, but they may be a supervisor or an assessor in terms of doing additional work for the British Psychological Society. And this is the role of a supervisor here. And a lot of people tell me after their master's degree, well, I've got I know all the knowledge, I've got all the knowledge, I've done essays, I've got a good merit mark or a good distinction mark. Why do I need to have the qualification in occupational psychology? Well, I mean, for me, it's really important to become chartered. It's like the pinnacle of being an occupational psychologist. And what you'll see here in this slide is that the actual candidate who does the QOP really does grow as a professional. So I've seen students really flourish doing the QOP process and really go from being a good consultant to being an excellent consultant. And it's so important in terms of your own marketing, in terms of getting jobs and things like that. So the QOP process is really essential. So just thinking about what types of workers might be gig, well, obviously there's a list here. There's some obvious ones that are gig workers, and some other categories that may not be clearly gig workers, like senior civil servants. Nevertheless, I've actually seen senior civil servants who are retired have come back and worked in the recruitment process. So in fact, all of these workers may be gig workers. So let's have a look at a couple of example gig workers then. So here we have our typical gig worker, Alexander, who works in the UK and works in IT. So that's the example that many of us think when we think of a gig worker. Nevertheless, you can also have occupational psychologists as gig workers. So we have another made-up example here, Victoria, and she's a part-time occupational psychologist working in selection for the civil service, but she also works for the British Psychological Society, doing QOP assessment and supervision. So it's important to realise that gig work can be used by occupational psychologists who might do short-term temporary assignments in particular pieces of work. However, you can take on board gig work if you're a student. So as I said here, when I was a student at the University of Nottingham in 1993, so very many years ago, I did some work for PhD students, and it was either paid or unpaid, but this would be classed as a gig, and it's worth doing just because it goes on your CV. So I also did when I worked. When I was a student in the University of Ulster, I actually worked for a year in terms of a placement, and that was really good because that whole placement year, and I got some Crown copyright publications out of that placement year. That and my experience at Nottingham kind of landed me my first job. So although this stuff doesn't necessarily seem that relevant, it is really important to try and show your motivation in the area and try and pick up gig work. Brilliant. Okay, so there are implications, obviously, of this type of employment, and it has moonlighting and things like that have really increased over the years. So we've looked at this in terms of the benefit from an OCCUPATIONal perspective. So the benefit really is that it can give you valuable experience as a student and also as a practitioner. I mean, I love assessing on the QOP. I love supervising on the QOP. When I'm a supervisor, I see my really capable students grow and flourish. And also when I assess on it, I see really good entries. And the actual person who's writing up the entry might have approached a particular problem a particular way that I would not have necessarily thought about. So actually, as a practitioner, I'm learning from being an assessor on the QOP. So obviously we have to maintain a certain standard and make sure that it passes and things like that. But actually, it's a great process for CPD opportunities because you learn what other organisations are doing in terms of occupational psychology. So it really does give you that invaluable experience. But just as a word of caution, so for instance, when I did my year's placement, I always remember I was paid £104 a week, and £89 of that went on my accommodation. And although I did get breakfast and dinner at that accommodation, there wasn't really a lot of money left over. So, but at least I got paid. So many students have kind of worked for me and not even been paid. So you do have to weigh up the benefits of, well, is it worth doing stuff for free and getting that experience or not? I mean, many of the students that did work for me for free are doing really well in their career. So I would say it is worth it, but you do have to weigh up the cost benefits of any type of gig work, really. So just to leave you with that thought. Brilliant. So that's all I was going to say. Feel free to contact me either through the Psychology at Work .blog website or through my email address at Birmingham University. I have a few references that you can also look at as well. So these references here are about the gig economy specifically. My own research is also across the page, and also the links to the British Psychological Society and the QOP qualification that I've gone through. So if you just literally type in Google BPS QOP, you should go straight to that web page. And if any of you are also interested in the gig economy and the rise of the gig economy, I have a few short YouTube videos for you to watch as well. Okay, thank you very much.